Welcome back to the Juice. Bang. Christian, you ready for everything?
I'm ready.
He's ready, bro.
All right. I always have to take a second before we start. Josh, you want to intro or you want me to do?
You got it, bro.
Frick. All right. I had to take a second. I get the jitters.
Tell me who you.
This is not going to go over well, bro, to any overseas listeners.
Just might see us at Worlds. Maybe.
Dude,
If not us, who?
I know, they definitely need observers.
Like dried raisins.
Dry. See, I'm not a big raisin guy. I don't even know the slightest thing about raisins. So
Kyle Keenan. Keenan is key.
Gabe Finaki is going to be playing with...
They're like witches brewing up these perfect balls.
Connors, you're next.
Yeah. For me, I decided it was the right thing to do, and then ultimately went to Salt Lake City and kicked his ass.
that's embarrassing.
Yeah, what are you playing naked?
Flapwick is a handsome dude, and he's tall. Good-looking dude. I definitely would go more 7.
I think if there's anything I've learned from this past week, it's that if you make a lot of noise and get a lot of attention, it doesn't matter if you're doing a good job, but like you will get the attention.
I know a lot of the things that I say might be viewed as controversial.
It was a bit of a bitch-ass move.
Are you serious?
That's so good.
You're listening to Spiked Lemonade, the only RoundNet podcast that squeezes out all the juice in the RoundNet community right now. I'm your host, Matt Spo.
Josh Diodnato here with our two lovely guests this evening, the one and only Paq Clifford and Christian Bennett. Thank you, boys, for coming on.
Absolutely. We're excited to be here.
Super excited.
Let's
So
go.
before we
go
start,
ahead.
I heard there was news that Christian Bennett's actually the biggest brick in RoundNet. I don't know where I heard that from.
Yeah, I
But,
have no idea where that rumor's coming from. Maybe a guy I've never
I
lost
just
to.
wanted to clear the
Maybe.
room with that a little bit to start.
Oh, snap. That's
But
crazy.
anyway, what's up, guys? Good to have you here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this Premier Spike Tour Series. That's what everybody wants to know about, right? So I want to start off with the big question of the Premier Spike brand has nothing to do with this Tour Series except for a little bit of sponsoring and a little bit of help with equipment, right? So how did this idea of this Premier Spike Tour Series come to be?
Well, I guess I'll take this question. I mean, for me, it all started in Richmond when I won the Open Major and the Code division. And I waited about, 1 or 2 days, was texting Karen. I was like, yo, so we just won the biggest event. How much did we win? Because that's honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. That was the first thing that I thought of other than the picture was like the money. Because as much as I do love the sport, it's also, there's other incentives for me playing it too as well. But I asked, and a couple of days later, we only won about 500 for winning both divisions. And my mind instantly was I just won the biggest event, but the only thing I have to show for it is going in the negative and then a picture, which is totally fine, at least for the time being, because the sport needs to grow. But that was when the idea started, which was why can't we find a solution to find either a system that works or a system that gives back? And I just didn't think we were at that point at that time. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Now you got this awesome team put together for this tour series as well. So you announced this tour series on Instagram. You announced so much out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. And then we hear, okay, there's a team of people along with it. This is where I guess Christian Bennett comes into play. Mm-hmm. So what are both of your roles in this tour series?
Christian, you want to go
Paq,
first? You want me to go?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so I'm the tournament director. I'm putting everything together from fields across the country, setting up the dates, and then answering every question that I've not possibly thought of yet.
And then for me, obviously, I'm the CEO of the company, but I basically help with Christian. Anything he asks, I do. So I was very clear when we first started this project that I am not the boss. Christian's the boss. And the reason why I'm making it clear now, kind of just so everyone knows, is I'm not the one that has the experience tournament directing. I'm the one that has experience with, putting on community events, trying to weasel my way into, little social gatherings, things like that. I love people. So I know Christian does too, but I can't answer questions or give you good insight, at least when it comes to like professionalism. I can give you an opinion, but when it comes to setting up tournaments, things like that, how, when, where, who, how, right? Those questions, that's Christian. So when I say I have an idea, it doesn't mean I have to run the idea. It means I have to find the person that will help me run the idea.
Right.
Now, for Christian, that's the thing, is TD, all that stuff. And for me, it's like I'm pushing forward. I'm thinking I'm running the social media side of it. So running flyers by him, but he's the boss. He's the one that says yes. He's the one that says, this is a price that seems reasonable. This is what we have to do here because of the risk management. And it's because he has the experience. And that's kind of like more details on why he's doing more of the TD stuff and I'm more big picture. But when it comes to finances, things like that, things of understanding numbers, USAR regional numbers, Christian's the guy. I'm not the guy. I'm the guy you say, hey, spin this ball, look pretty, and hopefully you win. I'm not the guy that says, let's do this and let's make a plan and let's run a successful tournament.
Okay.
It'd be silly for me to kind of put on a tournament when I have zero tournament experience. But I do know a guy that paid me immediately after I won. And that was the only tournament where I got paid that same day or within a week or 2 weeks of the tournament finishing. So a lot of the reasons why I picked him for this role as well was he gets things done when they need to be done. So that's going to be like, and obviously we can kind of go into that later, but that was probably the biggest reason why I picked Christian, was because when I look at Christian, I think of someone that gets things done and that is reliable with the things he says. Like the thing about Christian is he will always tell me what I need to hear, no matter where like my mind's at, because everyone knows I'm an emotional guy. And I get a lot of passion, but what I do know is when there's someone that needs to get through to me, I have to also pick those people around the team. And Christian Bennett is probably the one person that can get through to me more than any. And the only thing that you'll hear from me to Christian is yes, sir. So that's kind of like what the roles are. And this is just
this is great. Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
One for either of you, if it could, please. Christian, first for you. When Paq brought the project to you and kind of laid it out for you, one, did you have any reservations in taking this on? And two, sort of when you accepted that, what was your vision for this tour series? Big picture vision, not nitty gritty, which we'll get into the fine details in a little bit.
When Paq brought it on to me, it was who doesn't like, traveling across the whole country and losing money sucks, especially when you win. And so it's like same tournament, maybe even better quality, and I actually make money. Sounds like a huge pro to me. So that got me hooked. And then it was, okay, now diving in, how possible is it? And I love the details of things. I obsess over that. And so finding out how to actually make it possible and numbers that are possible and reasonable to pay out is what got me like hooked for the idea.
Okay.
And then biggest picture is I think it works. I think if we can get the community behind us and we can get people to get excited about these events, I think people can actually start like making money and making this more professional sport.
And Paq, we all saw when you when the team put out the original post, which had the picture of Blake, which is pretty badass. I really like that. But Jake Martha was on the post as well as your CFO. And I just know because we chatted a little bit beforehand, but if you could kind of peel the curtain back, he's no longer on the project, correct? And could you tell the people why?
So Jake is a really good friend of mine. He's one of those people that I've always just gone through for advice. And when I saw, because I originally went over the numbers myself, and then I went to Jake and I said, hey, have an idea. What are your thoughts? And that's originally what got him roped in. But the thing about Jake is we live a state away. So he also has different priorities, family life, things like that to focus on. So he's also has a toe in the water for the ASL project as well. So he can't stretch himself too thin. So when I went to him originally. He said, "Hey, this could be, could not be," and I said, "Okay." We went through the numbers, and actually, he ended up working a lot with Christian and I over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and then he went up to me super sick, just kind of saying, "Hey, I don't feel good, and I can't risk right now." And that's kind of all he said. He just said, "I can't risk things," and it's not like it wasn't like he didn't believe in the product. It was, this is a lot bigger. And this was like a vision that I had that he can't carry out because he wasn't the one that originally had the vision in the first place. And once he saw kind of, hey, like this is how many hours this is going to take, that's when he took a step back because he is working a job already right now. And I did quit my job to do this. So this is what I'm doing full time now. So it's the time commitment was also a pretty big like standard for him and I as well.
Okay, so with the tour series and your guys' vision for it, right off the bat, one of the first things that I heard about the tour series before I even saw the post was that you guys were going to be implementing a pro playing with a non-pro. And that was going to be sort of the dream. And I kind of think I know why that was a decision you guys made for like competitive fairness and sort of like that, but I don't want to speculate. And then it felt like it got flipped and then flipped back. Could you take me through a little bit of the reason why you feel like that's important and where the decision-making process was on that between kind of having it and then going back on it a little bit?
Christian, do you want me to kind of start and then you finish?
I think that sounds like a good game plan.
So I'll be kind of simple and I'll pass it over. I wanted to make, basically my idea was a lot of people can win. What happens if we make that even more people can win when the sport needs it the most? Because there's already not a lot of excitement other than ASL, which we're thanking unconditionally. But other than ASL, like there's not a lot of like a lot of passion. And I wanted to basically give people something to look forward to. So a good product with a lot of variety, a lot of who would actually win if we just like reset the sport for a year, because that's basically what we're doing already. So with all these different packages and plans and rule sets, and it's like, I'm thinking, this is my honest opinion, and I think a lot of people disagree, but we're already testing so many things. Testing out one more thing like doesn't do anything, like does no harm. But everyone's like, but we already kind of have a set rule set. And then I think going away with that kind of irritated people. But that was at least what it was for me. And I'll kind of pass it on to Christian because he was the one that kind of had the last say in it.
Yeah. And then so like we kind of flip flopped, like you said, it was like, as the word kind of got out, a lot of the community was like verbally pretty against it. And so we took it under consideration. And then finally we're like, no, this is what we want, because it just raises the floor of how many people can win a tournament. Last year I think there was like 10 teams who could win a major realistically. And now it's like, two pros are really hard to beat, but a pro and someone like Matt, most people can beat that team, and it's like, that's really exciting to come out there and like get you to try.
This fucking guy. All right. Anyway, you have one bad game, you'll never hear the end of it. But from then, I heard Backlash, right? We talked a lot about Backlash a little earlier, and as Josh was saying, you guys announced everything on Instagram, right? Out of nowhere. And then we hear pro, not pro. A day later, we hear, no, pros can actually play together. And then another day later, it's like, oh, wait, no, we're back to pro, not pro. So there's a lot of back and forth. And if you go look at the Instagram now, it's empty. There's a lot that's been taken off. There's a lot of things going back and forth, as well as another big selling point that people saw. So from like an outsider's perspective, we're looking in on this. We also saw a giant number on one of those first Instagram posts. And that number has decreased now since then. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like, it's still moving parts. It's still a lot of like trying to figure it out, it seems. And from a outsider's view looking in, it almost feels like these guys have no idea what they're doing. That's just like an outside, like, what the heck is going on? What are these guys doing? They have no idea what they're doing. How are you going to convince these people who see a lot of changing and moving parts to buy into this tour series?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a hard question, because it's like we put ourselves behind the eight ball. It's like, we set ourselves down because we wanted to come out professional, and Paq is really passionate about this. Obviously, I am too, but I think we got a little too excited to start, and if everything goes to plan, this could happen, is kind of what got posted, and then it was like, okay, let's take a step back, see what we can legitimately actually promise to the world. And that's where we are now. There is one update compared to what was posted last week, the Google Doc and everything. This is Paq really pushed for it. He's absolutely right. We've decided to go even with women's and pro for payout, completely even at all events. And so, and it's women's is just matching pro. We're just going to put more money into it. So it's staying the same. Pro's not going down.
And the biggest thing too is like you did mention like we were back and forth, and absolutely like tying into the numbers and things like that everyone wants to know. I don't have the experience, and and I will say, Josh, your statement of saying like we don't know what we're doing, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I really don't. And I think like if I am not willing to admit that, then like who am I? But I also know like that's why you talk to someone named Christian Bennett, and he tells you, hey, like I get you're passionate and you want to do these things, but as soon as he told me to delete everything, and because I was the one that did it, that said, hey, I'm gonna take everything and just like, and then I mentioned in the Discord, hey, I'm taking a step back from the project, but I'm still involved. It's because like you don't want someone that doesn't have the right plan to make a plan. And Christian had it, and I just said, I actually told Christian on a phone call, I basically gave him like 3 days to just do whatever he needs to do behind the scenes. And I said, you have a yes on everything. So that's kind of the full transparency there. Yeah, I did run through the numbers. I did make sure I had a pretty solid plan before we posted initially. And that's why we were confident enough to post it. But the thing is like we had to think about sustainability and risk management, which is where like we started seeing the USAR regional numbers, and we started seeing like the numbers that had to do with like when people actually sign up for a tournament based to like the 2 weeks beforehand, right? Like those are all numbers that we have to base how we should be marketing tournaments, and that wasn't where my vision was. So I honestly will probably take all the responsibility for all that, because I was the one going out, reaching out to Momentum and Nemesis and planning things for all these times. But that's when I realized it got the most serious, is when I realized like I knew the least amount of information, which is the most amount of information that I need to know, which is tournament direction itself. So right around like basically I kind of gave Christian a lot, and I said, I trust you. And he said, give me a week. And then he made me smile. That's basically what happened, right? Like in a nutshell, to be more like transparent.
Sure. Let me stop you. Let me just stop you for a quick second, bro, because I think you're one of those guys who's willing to take something on the chin and kind of will just sit there and say, if you need somebody to go after, you can go after me. It takes balls to get up and take a chance with something, especially a new project here when you're going to have a whole community and people looking at you, wondering what's going to happen next. There are definitely also people out there, bro, that want both of this to fail so that they can be like, oh, that failed. You know what I mean? And It takes a big man and it takes a great team to step up and go, I don't care. We're going to rip it. We're going to go for it. So Paq, I know that you're sort of kind of being like, I'm going to make mistakes. I don't know everything, but you have an awesome project on your hands. You have Christian, who I think is a fantastic 1A to your 1B, if you will. So I think you got to hold your head up, man, and just fucking rip it. And don't worry about what anybody thinks. We're going to have more questions, and some of these questions are going to be annoying. Don't get me wrong. But I believe in you guys. And if the podcast, me personally, myself, I already talked to you, bro, about I'd come out, help, do some announcing, and just be around it. I think this could be awesome. So I would just rip it, bro, and stay confident in yourself and the team that you guys put together, honestly.
Thank you.
All right. So it looks like I'm going to be the bad cop here.
Yeah.
in this room. We
Yeah.
got good cop, bad cop, and it's time. It's time for me to unleash.
Always
So
you, Matt.
always me. It's always me. Let's talk about, so again, the money. A lot of people are looking at the money and they're like, okay, this looks like legit. This looks like if what they're saying is true, this can be the tour series for RoundNet. Like I can actually make money doing what I love. The prize pool now, what is the total prize pool for Salt Lake City?
$20,700.
$20,700. So how much for Premier and women's?
Premier women's or pro and women's?
Pro and women's, my bad.
Pro and women's is $3,500 for first, $2,000 second, $2,500 for third, and then it keeps going down from there.
Team?
For the
or is
team,
that
yes.
for the
team?
Okay, so 3,500 winners team pro division.
Yep, and then it's $750 for fourth, $500 for fifth, $350 for sixth, and then 7 and 8 get free registration to their next event.
All right, there's a lot of money you're throwing around. Where is this money coming from with a whole new tour series?
So a lot of the money, as far as everything, the first tournament being covered up front, is coming from my business. So to kind of break off from Premier and like whether or not we get that cleared, this is my company. So this is completely under me, and I'm funding this whole first event. The idea behind this is after we run the first successful event and people realized, hey, like this actually is something bigger, then the goal is to have a self-sustaining tour series after that. So initially, first upfront cost, it's all on me. If this project fails, like this is all I got for the community. So it's like either believe or don't, and that's totally fine with me. But at least like Josh said, I'm just gonna hold my head high and just at this point, just kind of be more honest about just whether or not this is gonna work out or not. But I do believe it will. And it is coming from me, from my pocket.
And
so,
talking about what I think more what you're asking for, Matt, is registration is about a little bit higher than most tournaments. This is the Premier Tour Series. Like it is, we're trying to bring out the best, pay the best, and have the best play. And so registration costs $250 for a team right now to sign up for Salt Lake. And that's for the Premier and women's division. And then it goes contenders cheaper and intermediates very cheap. And then you also have to have a membership card. That's $125 a person. And that's for the whole season.
That's a lot. I know I know looking at it in retrospect, a lot of people in the RoundNet community are going to say that's a lot. Why? How are you going to charge us this amount of money? But I'm going to kind of back you guys up a little bit here because I'm looking it up and like other pro tours and pro tournaments, and I'm going to put pickleball into perspective here just because that's the most, I'd say the most alike to spike ball. Pickleball, it looks like it costs around $500 per event just to sign up to enter up like a professional PPA tour event.
True.
Because you're trying to win a lot more money, right? So
yeah. And this is one thing I really wanted to say while I was on this podcast is the thing that's getting on maybe like not my most nerves, I don't know how to properly say it, is people keep saying like the barrier to entry is too high with the Premier Tour. And I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't think that's on this exact tour series problem. Like go play your local events if you want to get on the barrier of entry. Like make those a little bit cheaper. But this is a national tour series. And we're trying to give away the most money possible and make the best event possible, best fields. And yeah, the barrier is a little bit higher, but there's definitely cheaper alternatives if you're just trying to get in around that.
And we don't want people to travel. Like the goal isn't to travel to 6 events. The goal is, honestly, like I'd rather have you just travel to 1. That's really what I want you to do. Just travel to one more expensive tournament on the year. And like my biggest goal, I'm the same way spike ball and the same way most series are right now with my URA program. I plan on playing, I think, 14 different events locally and then twice nationally. And I don't even know which ones I'm going to. I don't even think I'll be – I mean, I think I'm playing in this first one with Fred, but he hasn't texted me and I have no idea. So it's like, we don't really want people to travel and have to spend this money 7-8 times a year. Like this is a one-time thing. Like prove you're the best against who's around you. And then let's just try to grow this sport all together.
Now, let me ask you this. What do you think would be a successful number, a number that you both would be happy with for teams, pro teams that turn up to the first event?
Well, we want a 32 person bracket, 32 team bracket in the pro division. So that's my perfect answer.
Honestly, Sam, I want a perfect bracket.
Are you limiting that? Like, are you only allowing 32 or if it goes up, would you expand it with like kind of how I think who did it? Was it Christmas Classic where they expanded it if they had enough, like there was like a wait list, and if so many people signed up on the wait list, they expanded it. Do you plan on doing something like that?
So the pro division will be 32 so like right now, I think there's 39 players we classified as pro players. And I can get into that in a moment. But if all pro players are guaranteed a spot in the pro bracket, so if for some reason all 39 came to Salt Lake, we would extend it. But other than that, it's going to be capped at 32. But there is the premier bracket as well.
Can pro players play down in that premier bracket?
No. All pro players will play in the pro bracket.
All right. Now, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit. I do want to kind of talk about this. We had, from community member perspective, a lot happened at once. Spikeball just announces that they are no longer running a Spikeball Tour Series. And then you guys come out and you say, hey, but we have this you guys can play. It seemed too perfect of timing. Now, can you explain to the viewers, did you guys plan this? Did you plan like, oh, Tour Series isn't happening, let's wait till they announce theirs and we'll announce ours, or let's beat them to it a little bit? Like, what was your thinking behind announcing that?
I'll let Paq take this one because I was not fully on board. I was like getting on board at that time.
Yeah. So the biggest thing was for me was I actually was going to have a registration cap for this tournament. So I was going to try to get the entire thing filled up in a month. And Christian and Jake, when I went up to them, kind of explaining the idea, like obviously like doing what ASL does is really smart, kind of having a month before registration closes, gives you time to organize, plan the event, and just make sure it runs smoothly. But I didn't really realize that the STS was going to stop because I haven't been involved. Like I've just been grinding the ASL with all my friends and trying to just focus on that. So I was kind of a little shocked that the STS said that they weren't going to do an event because my complete impression was this was going to happen. And then I didn't want to like taint an image against the STS. Like I wanted to go against them because I don't have any thoughts against them. So I was a little more confused when it happened. So I don't really have a huge answer other than like the original plan was to have it capped at the end of February. And then we have a month to get ready to plan the event for Art Die and then just kind of figure it out from there. But so I wasn't really expecting them to stop. That was more kind of a shock. But I've heard talks from like ASL players saying that like there was an ASL thing coming, but like they couldn't disclose that. So
makes sense. So with the tournament coming up, the first one, do you guys have any pro players that have already given you their verbal whatever confirmation that they will be there and that they're going to pay the money and then they're excited about the first event?
Christian, do you want me to go on this, or do you want to pick that up?
You can, yeah, go right ahead if you want.
So the biggest players I've reached out so far, especially after the initial launch happened, that's when I was able to do a lot of the talks. I talked to Gabe 9 months ago before this even started. And then when I initially launched it, I talked to Christian, Gabe, Kieran, Tyler Fernandez while he was in the ER. Talked to Kieran said he couldn't come to the first one, but he's planning on coming to the others with Tyler. Fred, Rahul. I could probably list them off.
Dawson Morgan. I know Dawson
I
Morgan's signing up.
talked to a lot of people about this.
Beautiful.
It was just like, I really, really want to like figure something out. And the biggest thing was asking questions and not talking as much. So,
and you guys probably both already know this, but I think that for the first one or the first handful, first 2, 3, getting on the horse and like asking these guys to show up for you is going to be big, because once you see 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in there, man, you'll get the 32. People will be like, okay, this is a thing, you know? So it's going to take the community that always talks about.
It really is.
yeah.
You really got to get that top part to sign up. And as soon as the top players come, I mean, most of us have been at that pro level. And so it's like, I don't know, you're on that ladder of climbing to pro, and you're like, oh, so-and-so's going to be there. I can go, I want to beat them. And, you know, you got to show up if you want to beat somebody.
Absolutely.
So now, talking about this March 29th, I think, Paq, you said something earlier about playing nationally. Are you talking about playing in this Premier Spike Tour Series?
Well, I actually do plan on going to Europe for a little bit and playing in one of the ETSs down there, because I know we have a lot to learn from Europe when it comes to community building and things like that. So I plan on playing USAR. I plan on playing the PT. I plan on playing the ETS in Europe. More spike ball, the better. More round net, the better, right? Like I don't have any. I have nothing against playing against any tournaments, but yeah, as far as my series, I might not. I mean, obviously, I'll be at all of them for this year and like the next year, making sure like they come and like it's smooth and things like that, because it's my project. But my goal isn't to like be overseeing the tournaments. It's just to like, you know, figure out plans and like figure out a way to like grow more tournaments. And then for me, I don't want to travel, you know, every other weekend like I did. So this year, next year, and whenever like it launches and it's smooth, I'll take a step back. But for now, I have to. But as far as playing nationally, yeah, I want to play as many events as possible with whatever rule sets there are, because we're just trying to figure it out all together. So it's not, I don't have too big of an opinion.
Sort of spitballing a little bit here. Have you guys thought about observers for these events? Only reason that it came to my mind was, you know, people help out and observe at these events, but like realistically, when you get into a quarters match in one of your guys' tournaments, the PTS bro, there's going to be a lot of money and high stakes on the line. Like, have you thought about how to get, you know, observers at these important spots? Because we self-officiate our game for the most part, but this is actual money. This isn't just, you know, like you said, $400 for winning the biggest tourney of the year. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah. So like actually like having people observing, like people assigned to the games, not necessarily, but I already have over $1,000 set aside to pay observers, because I'm going to pay. I need people to observe those games, because those really do matter. So that's about as far as I've gotten right now.
I think that's a fantastic idea. Now I'm going to come back. I know, Paq, you said spike ball earlier. You said you like playing spike ball earlier underneath this Premier Spike Tour Series. How are you gonna get? You gotta rewire your brain, kid.
No, I don't. It doesn't. I really don't care. Most people, especially in Utah, I actually refer to it as spike ball here. I never say round net, because mostly you go in Utah, you go to all the colleges around. Everyone plays it, but here in URA, like spike ball is what gets you hooked. Like it's the same thing with Premier, right? You tell a contender guy Premier, they're going to be like, oh my gosh. You tell a casual spike ball, they get really excited. So spike ball, unfortunately, will be what we'll be saying a lot still. And, you know, just between us, I don't really care that much.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat. But I do want to say, or I want to ask about Premier Spike and the company's role in this tour series, because it is called the Premier Spike Tour Series. But we've already established that the Premier Spike company really has nothing to do with it. So what are they doing? Like, what's their role in this tour series? And what was your decision making calling it the Premier Spike Tour Series?
So we originally went with Sanford. He actually told me he wanted Premier Spike in the title. So originally he was like, hey, I want like at least it's saying Premier Spike, you know, obviously like we want to supply the equipment. So when I went to this idea to Sanford, he was like, okay, we'll be the official equipment provider and title sponsor, and that's it. But with that title sponsor, we actually ran it across with him and said, yes, we got the go ahead, launched it, and then he told us to rebrand. So we ended up rebranding it to the Premier Tour. So just PT. But we wanted to do Premier Tour because Premier is super, again, kind of like to go back to the marketing scheme of like, I still want to keep Premier status. I love that. I think that's something that that needs to stay, that Spikeball has built a lot of big rapport around, and like it kind of already ties into the Premier Spike sets, and like it's just a good, easy name to kind of like level it in, and we can keep the word Premier without keeping it separate with a different color scheme because now it's purple and gold. But yeah, they're supposed to be the just title sponsor and equipment provider, and they'll be shipping out. So if we have like Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretend we have an event in Los Angeles, Sanford will ship all the nets and balls and all the equipment we need to that certain tournament director that we work with. So that's kind of what that looks like.
So you got a lot of different ideas and different tournaments also that we're going into. Talking about the places of these tournaments, there was already some I guess confusion between Canada and you guys with some tournament scheduling. It seemed that you had announced all these tour dates with all these different cities, and then the people involved in Canada RoundNet did not know about these tournament dates or tournament venues that were going on. So like for example, you announced the Vancouver city as a spot for the tournament series, and then Emerson comes in and says, hey, as a part of RoundNet Canada, we have no idea what the heck you're talking about. And also in a lot of those posts, there was mentions of like, hey, we want to thank Canada a lot for all the stuff that they're putting in because they're a big help to this. So what does that mean? Like from an outside perspective?
Yeah. So from an outside perspective, originally I was talking with Carl. So I used to live in Seattle, which is about probably 2 hours drive north to Vancouver. And I used to go and play in those tournaments a lot. And I was talking with Carl about doing a series there. But what I didn't realize was the amount of time it would take to get a field. So that was where Christian came in and was like, hey, like I get in Utah, because in Utah, it's really easy. We have fields that we're able to book like within either a week or 2 weeks. And then we also have a recurring schedule where Parks and Rec sends us all dates we can use for like the following calendar year. So I don't realize sometimes things are really easily accessible for me, but I don't realize how difficult it could be in a place like Seattle or Vancouver. And as I talked with Carl, my impression was that like no one really knew what they were doing. So I figured it'd be okay to just have a date. Turns out that's not the right way to do it. And talking to just one person, Carl, being one of the tournament directors that like I knew personally, that's where I was reaching out first before I went out globally or to other states, because I'm going to go to the people I trust more than anything. But I didn't really ask. I don't think I asked specific enough questions until I came to Christian, and then I asked the most important question, which is what am I actually doing? And then he ended up answering that for me. So again, I'm going to have to I'll definitely have to take the blame on that. So I'll kind of keep it just that simple for now.
So Christian, with that being said, what dates and that we originally saw, that post is gone now. So should we just say, like, for right now, don't disregard everything that was said except for Salt Lake City?
Yeah, that's where we're going with right now. It's like, because like Paq said, Seattle and Vancouver, it can take a year to 18 months to get a venue up there. And so without a bunch of planning, it's really hard. I'm on the list for 2026 venues for, hopefully next year's tour, but I've got a date for that one, but I'm not going to say that yet. But it's like, it takes a while to get a venue. And so we've had to take a step back. Basically everything you've seen minus Salt Lake, disregard, because we've put it out there now. We've put the Google Doc out there with the information. We have Salt Lake Fuego up, and more dates will be coming soon. I'm working on it. I just want to get fields under contract, work with local TDs before anything goes out publicly again.
So this year is going to be a big work with local TDs to get this tour series out
Yeah,
and kind
'cause,
of
I mean,
debut it in these different areas.
well, yes and no. Like we're still we're not like doing like what a challenger vibe is, where it's like this tournament is our tournament run by this round net organization. It's still run by us, and we will host it, and I will be the VTDing. But you kind of know like blackout dates in your city. I may be able to contact you and be like, "Hey, what's the best venue in your town to save me, an hour or two of research?" And then we'll sponsor your club a little bit and help you, give you some premier sets and hopefully give you a little bit to offset the work that you did for us. But also, the tournament director in the local area can just say no, and that's fine.
Is there a plan with this, guys, to have a championship at the end of the year, or you know what I mean?
There
Have you
is.
thought about that yet?
Yep, it'll be early
Okay.
September.
Okay.
Yep. So
So
our
for
plan
right
is
now-
to have
Okay.
3 majors, counting Salt Lake, and then we're having another event called minor events. They're worth a little less points. It's only half the money. That's only $10,000 for the weekend. Or I think it's 12,600. Because now we've added the women's pay equal to the pro. It's I think it's 12,600, and there will be 3 to 6 of those events. Not sure yet. Depends on like how scheduling works in the next little bit. I've got a couple in the works, and then a championship in early September.
Now this just popped in my head. So for the women's division, is that the same? Women's pro can't play with another women's pro from the prior year.
No,
So women's open.
women is open to
Everybody.
anyone. Yep, and co-ed as well. Co-ed, a pro, open pro can play with the women's pro.
Are we
So it's
looking at
just-
a 2-day tourney schedule like how STS did? Or are you going to do it all one day? If you want to play co-ed, you're going to play co-ed instead of pro.
No, it's a 2-day schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, we want everyone to be able to play everything and make the best out of their flight to Salt Lake, for example.
Sorry for
the
drilling you
plan-
guys, by the way. There's just questions are popping
Yeah,
in my
there-
head, and I'm
there are.
ripping into you guys.
I've got
Is
the
the
answers.
plan to pay? I know the plan is to pay the women equally.
Yep.
What if their attendance is, let's say, like 25% of the amount of teams sign up for a women's, or you know what I mean, or you can just any arbitrary number versus the men? How does it change?
So I'm a big math guy, and that's where I took it. I was like, well, looking back at tournaments, about 18% of the field is women's division. And it's
Right.
like, it's hard. It was hard for me to justify equal pay because also one thing that this might be a controversial hot take, but it's not a men and women's division. It's an open and women's division. So in my head, it was like women can play open. This is a women only division, so it doesn't have to be an equal pay. And after talking to a bunch of people and thinking about it a little bit more, that really isn't the most fair. And we are trying to promote the game in both divisions. And so we should totally just give the same.
You're with that, Paq? That's the same.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I just have a feeling long term, this is the smartest thing to do as a sport. As far as you look at, I mean, obviously there's a lot of attention in other women's sports not getting paid the same, but if we're the first sport that does it, like I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and I'm just gonna trust that the work that I've put in, the ideas I've had to get where I'm at, it'll also. I just want to try to apply it just as much to our sport as well. So
Got you. So basically, if you had a full open bracket of 32 teams,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a women's division, let's say, where they only are able to get 12. The winner of that women's division is walking home with the same check as the winner of the 32 man open division at the end of the day, at the end of your event, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Cool. I mean, it's kind of bold. I kind of like it, actually. It's kind of bold. Yeah, it's cool. Good for you.
Yeah, so that payout also, one thing is set at 110 teams, and it will be percentage based if not can't give any numbers what it would look like if we had 70 total teams in Salt Lake, but
right, but it changes.
It would change. That number is guaranteed at 110 teams though.
Got it.
Now I have one more thing before we start really wrapping up. Again with this, I don't know if everything from the posts that you posted before they got deleted, is everything that was on there completely disregarded now?
I would say about
something specifically.
I'd say about 90%, but you can shoot if you want.
Okay, so I saw brands. I saw a bunch of brands on there, right?
Ooh.
So obviously we know Premier Spike, and we talked about that already. Let's talk about Nemesis. Their logo was on there. Let's talk about, I think Slunk's logo was on there. And let's talk about, you guys had talked about Momentum Media a little bit, right?
Yeah, we talked about Momentum.
So those three companies, what's their role in this tour series?
So do you want me to kind of go on that, Christian?
Yeah, you go right ahead, Paq.
Okay, so Nemesis, they're going to be the official jersey. Slunks is going to be the official shorts. I'm still kind of contacting Slunks weekly just to kind of see what we're going to do more officially. But I also there's another one named Alta Lights. It's these lights that kind of become a ball, and like I just have some really cool ideas with that. So we have another company, and that's going to be the official like light for my series, and then Slunks, Nemesis. Was there one more? Am I missing?
Momentum. What's their role? How are they playing into this?
Jacob and I have talked about streams and things like that, and once I get this I get this project up and rolling, my plan is to bring them on as independent contractors so we can have streams at the majors and make sure that we're like posting, the social media is being run more like how my vision would want to be towards a live social media page than what it's been in the past, but basically independent contractor for Momentum.
And what do you mean by jersey and shorts company? Like you said, official jersey and official short of, are you talking like when we watch a NHL game and it says, oh, this is the official drink of the NHL? Is it just a title? Or like, what does that mean?
It's official shorts of my company specifically. So most of those, like most of like the franchises and things like that, like they obviously have the ability to choose what they want their sponsors to be. And Slunks has treated me really well. And all the brands that I'm coming from is just all personal companies that's treated me really well over the last couple of years. And I kind of want to be a little more official, at least with my company specifically. I do want to make things say, hey, like Nemesis is going to be a part of me. And if he wants to, great. But I want them to be the official jersey providers that like my company goes through, right? Or like this, at least shorts. Everyone loves Slunks now. Now that they've known him through like Buddy Hammond and things like that. But yeah, I just want to be a little more professional, a little more official, and brands that I love, I'm going to market the crap out of because I believe in them as well. So,
but you're not going to be requiring the players to be wearing a jersey or a Slunk shorts in order.
No. This is just to help market. This is I scratch your back, you scratch mine for sponsorship wise.
Sure,
this isn't. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the players, but if they want to look good, cool. That's fine with me.
True. You know what's funny too with you guys specifically? If somebody would have told me like 2 years ago when I kind of really got into the competitive scene that you two would work together on a project, I would have been like, I could see them cussing each other out on the net. That's about it.
I will say that has been a thought I've had. I told.
Okay, did it?
Funny enough, Salt Lake City.
That has happened, hasn't it, Christian?
Yep.
Salt Lake City, what, 2023?
Yep. Paq upset Noah and I back in Shundi.
Wow,
I was not a great sport at the net.
I remember hearing it. I was over watching Josh actually get Premier, and then I hear that going on. I just hear a lot of yelling from both sides on that end. That was funny to hear, funny to listen to.
Yeah,
that's a wild full circle moment.
You have low moments in your life, and that was one of mine.
That was one of them.
I've had a lot of low moments in my life, so.
Dude, it's a cool full circle moment because we have you two guys shouting at each other that day, and then you ultimately do this. Jake Martha was the kid that I beat for Premier at that same time, who's just like, on your staff or used to be. This is getting strange.
Almost like we planned it 2 years ago.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, yeah, like we can start to wrap up here. If you guys will open the floor in a minute here, if you have any like closing statements or closing thoughts, but realistically, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on and just talk about it. I think that there's a lot of promise with this if it's executed properly. And you two together kind of feels right. So I have high hopes for you guys, and I hope everything goes well. Hope you get the attendance you need. It sounds exciting. I think there'll be a lot on the line. You have a lot of like high intensity, high pressure moments like we had at ASL. With like those sort of prize pools that they were talking about too. So you could create something awesome here. I think, like I talked about in the pod with Ben, like the lane is sort of opened with STS moving to the side, and something has to fill it, whether that's the national series. Canada has a series, a Midwest series. Now we have you guys. You guys seem to be sort of the front runners, in my opinion, for what's going to become the next premier series to partake in. So yeah, I realistically just wish you the best of luck. Matt, you got anything before we let them sort of give their closing piece?
I'd say, so we got Premier Tour, not PSTS. It's the Premier Tour coming out. We have big money, 3 majors, 3 to 6 minors on the line. They got big plans. We're talking about putting a lot of money into the sport and hopefully trying to get a lot of money out of it. So I know I've been taking shots at them all day, just asking the bad questions, but that's what I want to do for the listeners, trying to get as many people as possible just to understand where they're coming from, right? So they answered it well. If you're going to buy into something, if you want to try it out, like Paq said, don't travel, don't go to a bunch. Go to the one that's local to you, give it a shot, see how it works, right? Because as far as it comes, we don't know what's going to work until we try. So I'm all for going to at least your local one. If you want to travel to it, that's up to you. But you're going to get into it, what you put into it, even as a player standpoint. These guys are putting a lot into it, hoping to get a lot out of it. As a player, you want to get something out of it, you got to put something into it. And this goes for every tour series that you're going to play in. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it works too. I'm super excited. I'm definitely going to try and go to at least one. I'd love to make it out to Salt Lake, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. So you guys have the floor. Any closing statements, any last thoughts you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I'll throw a closing statement in there. One thing I want to address, because like main like thing, and I've kind of touched on it a little bit, is a lot of people have been saying, how is that mid-premier player going to justify buying the membership or signing up for this high registration tournament and like higher registration tournament? And that's a really fair, valid question. But in my thought, like one counter thought, it's not a great, example, but it's what the way I would justify it is the STS last year hosted like 18 events in North America, something like that. We're hosting a max of 10. Absolute max of 10, counting the championship. And so if you played half of those, that's 5. That's a great year. It's overall, you got less out of it, but maybe you got 5 really quality tournaments. And that's how I would justify it. Like
I also
less,
would.
yeah. Go
I'll
ahead,
kind of piggyback that. I just feel like the justification is the fact that you're getting reps against other quality players too. Like you got to look at it more than just like we're not only trying to present a product, we're also trying to present hope for you as a player. So we're not justifying you're going to spending this here, starting from the beginning and trying to work your way to be the best for nothing. Now, like we want you to try to be the best. We want to create an environment where you can see your skills improve. And the same way you pay for personal training, it's the same way you'll pay for a tournament experience. The justification is you're getting better and you're becoming a better man, whether that's around that improving your life, or it's just you're just becoming a bigger dog, whatever. At least that's how I would, as far as like the professional, like the athlete side of like, hey, like I've put in the effort. I've rounded 16 more times than I can count. Like it's not fun. And like but it never felt like a waste to me. So I'm just kind of applying my same mindset and backing Christian and just, I trust it. So that's kind of my closing statement.
Very last thing is if you ever wanted to beat Gabe, it's a pro, no pro rule. Maybe you can beat Gabe and Matt.
I was just about to say, yeah, Christian,
Yeah.
as he was saying with the mid-premier players, miracles happen. People like Christian Bennett can come out and beat Gabe every once in a while. You never know. So
Oh, it happened.
to wrap that up, thank you to everybody who listened. Don't forget to please subscribe, please follow on Spotify. It really means a lot to us. Go check out the Premier Tour. I'm assuming they're going to probably change their Instagram stuff after this to hopefully do that. But we're going to link whatever that is in the bio to whatever it might be. And yeah, check them out. Check out their Flango. Check out their Google Doc. They have a lot of stuff coming. And same with us. Check us out. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on.
Love to get you guys back to maybe just before the first event to preview it, kind of hype it up a little, talk about some of the teams that could potentially get the damn thing done. But yeah, again, appreciate your time and hope to talk to you guys soon. Thanks, guys.